This is a short video about the new features that have been introduced in version 1.2 of FS Instant Approach for Flight Simulator X and Flight Simulator 2004. I'll begin with the new features and then I'll recap the existing features of the program so that everyone can have a complete description. The two new features that we have are the ability to specify the runway type for the random approach and also the runway elevation. If we want to pick a random approach airport in FS Instant Approach, we press the random approach button up here, and as you can see we're getting a random selection of airports all around the world. Now we can control this if we want, for example, only to be practicing approaches at let's say runways that have ILS, the instrument landing system. If I now pick a random airport, we can see over here that there's the ILS frequency. We'll pick another random airport, and once again we're getting ILS airports now. So we're restricted now to ILS airports. We're filtering the random selections, so that can be good for ILS practice. On the other hand, you might want to pick airports which do not have ILS because you're just practicing doing visual approaches at simple airports that don't have instrument landing systems on the runways. And we can see now that we're getting airports that don't have ILS. If we don't care about that, then we just turn all on over here and we'll get runways without reference to whether or not they have ILS. The other thing we've introduced is the ability to filter by the runway elevation. So if we turn this on, and then if we set, for example, we might say that we want runways that have a minimum elevation of 11,000 feet. So if we now select random airports, we're going to be getting this runway for this airport, for example, is at somewhat over 12,000 feet, and we've got 12,000 feet again there. And as we can see, we're getting some South American airports, very high elevations, and alternatively we could say that we have, let's say we have a maximum elevation, something a bit different here. We have a maximum elevation of 0 feet above sea level. So now if we ask for a random airport, we're going to get, for example, this airport here is 72 feet below sea level, and then we're going to get another one here which is 3 feet below sea level, and Alexandria 6, and I'm sure we would get a lot, for example, in the Netherlands. And we can use the minimum and maximum here. Let's say we might want to practice flying in fairly high altitudes, but not exactly at the top of the world, so to speak. So let's go from 7,000 to 9,000 feet, and if we approach a random airport now, then we're going to get, as we can see from the elevation listing here, we're going to get airports that fall within that bracket. And again, all of this is optional, of course, so you can turn it off if you like. We can turn that off there, and then we'll get runways at all elevations. And so those are the new features in version 1.2. Just to recap the general function of FS Instant Approach, it's an add-on program for Microsoft Flight Simulator X and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2004. It runs at the same time as as either one of those programs, and all you do is you tell FS Instant Approach whether you want to. You don't have to pick a random airport. You can tell it a specific airport that you want to approach. Let's say, for example, we wanted to go to I don't know, Green Bay, for example, and so there's our airport, there's our information on the airport, or we can have it pick a random airport as we've been watching earlier. Then we can tell it how many nautical miles out from the runway that we want to start our approach. We can tell it which runway at the airport we want to approach. We can set our speed at which we begin the approach, and then when we press the connect button, FS Instant Approach will configure Flight Simulator according to the information that we've given here, and will put us on that approach to the airport at that distance, at that speed, approaching that particular runway. The other thing that we can do with other filters that we've had from previous versions of the application is we can enter, if we're doing random airports, we can enter some characters that we want our runways, or rather our airports, to start with. So if we wanted to go with, let's say, Great Britain, for example, if we put in EG and then ask for a random airport, actually the elevation, okay, it's turned off, so that's okay. So then we'll ask for a random airport, and now we're getting airports that are just within the United Kingdom. And then also, for example, we could also say EK, and that would give us random airports that are in Denmark. And the other thing that we can do is when we set up the approach, we can ask for a specific local time of day if we wish. So we might want to practice, I don't know, we might want to practice night landings, let's say, for example. So we could go ahead and say that we want the local time to be, let's say, 23:30. And if we then turn that on to set the local time, then whenever we start an approach, the local time will be 23:30 in this case. We can be fairly certain that it's going to be dark at that point, but of course that will vary depending on the time of year and also the latitude of the airport that we're approaching. And that's pretty much it. It tells us about the new features of version 1.2, and it's also, once again, an overview of what the product does. The product can be downloaded as a completely free demo from the FS Inventions website. And we've got, let's see here. This is an informal video, as we can tell. Yes, there's the FS Invention website right there. So you can download a free demo from there. There's no time limit on the demo. You can only do approaches at a certain number of airports, but there's no time limit to explore it and have fun with it. And happy landings, and thanks for your time.